So I got my hands on Tony Adams, and I've already played 9 games with him, and he is quite good. He performed how I expected in pretty much every key area, which is quite good, except for one, which was the most surprising, because I thought if this card was bad, at least this one attribute would be very good. So I'll show you what I mean in the clips. But these clips here are kind of just showing his on-the-ball ability, which it isn't surprising was good, because he has 79 low pass and lofted pass on the build I'm using, and also 71 ball control and 70 tight possession, which is good for a centre-back. But he also has low lofted pass as well, so when a defender has low lofted pass, you can kind of tell Konami are trying to indicate to you that this is a defender that can carry the ball like you're seeing here and do well with it, and he plays the through ball into Messi there. The clip did cut short, but the ball did actually reach Messi. So even without true passing, his true passes were effective, although I do think he could do with true passing. Anyway, here's just kind of his long ball ability. You can see a couple of these were with his left foot. He is right footed, and he doesn't have very high weak foot accuracy, only high, but it did show that he can do it on both feet. But his on the ball ability is really important, because as a destroyer, destroyers want to run out, put pressure on the opponent, and that means if they get the ball, they're going to be in midfield, and they need to be composed on the ball and be able to distribute it. Because one player that's very similar to this guy is Van Boyten, and Van Boyten, while he is defensively very strong, he doesn't have the greatest on the ball ability. So I always say Van Boyten would be probably the best centre back in the game. Actually, he's just there in the clip. He'd be the best centre back in the game if he had build up playstyle, but because he's a destroyer, he gets pushed into midfield quite often because of the aggressiveness of the playstyle. But yeah, here's more of the low lofted passes. That was a knock-on pass, which is why in my training guide I uploaded yesterday, I recommended put soul control on. Obviously, you didn't need the soul control for that knock-on because he was stationary, but it would have been good. Here is an example of the destroyer being bad. You see how he was cut out of position? If we watch the clip back here, you'll see once the ball turns possession, he steps up and leaves a big gap in behind. Now, it wasn't a major issue because the pace in this game is a bit slow. We end up catching up with the ball anyway. But it's a new tactic I'm trying out. I was told don't use a destroyer in centre-back, because the instruction of this tactic is to use a destroyer in DMF. So when I tried them, obviously that was an issue. I did fix it by just changing to an anchorman. So just keep that in mind, that if you play a destroyer in DMF, having another destroyer like Adams in centre-back might cause issues. But once I rectified it and started using someone like Gilberto Silva in DMF as an anchorman, or Rodri, the kind of destroyer AI actually became a strength of him. When I was watching the clips here, it was kind of like seeing deja vu every time. Every time Dixon stepped up, Tony Adams would come across very well and kind of cut out the space that was left in behind by the right back stepping up. So I can confirm, even if he is really tall, Tony Adams, he's still able to get around, and he is very mobile. So it's kind of just like I'm saying, deja vu. Every time there's a gap out there, he goes out across, and even if the opponent kind of backs off there, he can still persistently chase. But moving on to the kind of other strengths, is tackling and his blocking were very good. You can see there a very, very clutch block at the end, and just his overall tackling ability, you can see there he kind of like floats or levitates into the player. It was like kind of he sped up for a moment there, and I think that's just because of how high his aggression and tackling are. Well, I mean, they're not extremely high, 92 and 90, but with those long legs is very strong. And if we look on eFootball Hub with the new thing they have, I'll do a video explaining it if you want the kind of leg coverage and stuff like that. It was kind of always going to be the case that this Tony Adams would be good. But these clips here are actually, sorry, you might want to rewind there just to watch them again. He wasn't that great in the air. I know he won that header there, but persistently he was losing the aerial battles. Obviously he's going to beat someone like an Mbappe here, but look, he gets caught in the back post. I'm trying to head it behind to clear it, just because I know it's kind of a 50-50, but he still can't get to it. But if you watch those first clips back, you can see it is against the same opponent, Casual Gamer, and he's someone who watches the stream, and he told me that he was using the deep line forward Havertz with a aerial superiority on him. And it's interesting because in my Cantona review / training guide, I didn't recommend putting aerial superiority on him, and that was because based on my experience with Messi and Havertz in eFootball 24, I felt like you didn't need aerial superiority on your deep line forward. They would often win the header anyway. With Cantona, he still won a lot of headers, but I do actually think I would put aerial superiority on him, and I think it's kind of to the new update. So I think on the new update, if a forward has deep line, or if a forward is a deep line forward, especially when they have aerial superiority, it doesn't matter how good the aerial ability of the centre back is, they're always just going to struggle against that. So if we compare him to other centre-back destroyers, both, you know, paid for players like Vieira or free to play like Rudiger, where would I rank Tony Adams? Well, if I had to rank them all overall, I think Vieira is the best centre-back for destroyer, and then I would think it's either going to be Tony Adams right behind them, and then a toss-up between Cannavaro and Diaz, depending on if your opponent's playing a tall striker or a small striker. So Cannavaro will be better against a smaller striker like a Messi. Interestingly, other destroyers that I have that should be quite good in theory are Araujo, Van Boyten and Rudiger. But what you'll notice about the four, actually they're on the left here, that I like. They all have good passing ability. So Vieira obviously has really good passing ability. Cannavaro doesn't have the most amazing dribbling stats, but he's got good balance and then also good passing stats. And same with Diaz. Diaz also has 71 on the lofted pass and low lofted pass. And if we look at Tony Adams, here is his build here, and then there's the training points, and then I didn't put any skills on him at the moment. If you want to know what skills I put on him, I have a training guide, or what I will recommend them. I have a training guide video uploaded. But for these guys, these are all kind of bad on the ball. Rudiger doesn't have the worst passing stats, but his dribbling and balance are quite low. So I do think destroyers really should be good on the ball if you want to be at the elite level, because of what I said earlier in the video. When they step up, put pressure and go forward to chase the ball, once they win it, they're in midfield now, they're in defensive midfield area, they need to be able to pass and dribble. So overall, I think this Tony Adams is a very, very good player. There was quite some issues with the aerial ability, but it was mainly in that one game against the deep line forward aerial superiority player in Havertz. So I think going forward, you can, the two main takeaways from this video are Tony Adams is very good, and there might be a new meta with deep line forward and aerial superiority.